Hello, welcome to Optimized and Unfiltered podcast, where we have real, honest conversations about health, performance, and becoming the best version of yourself. No fluff, no filters, just truth about what actually works. Whether it's biooptimization, mindset, fitness, recovery, or the tools people are using to transform their lives, we're diving into all of it and bringing you the stories behind the results. I'm your host, Amy Kandetsky, and today we're kicking off our very first episode with a powerful transformation story. Our guest today is Dawn. She is here to share her journey, how she took control of her health, optimized her body, and experienced a major personal transformation using peptides as part of her wellness journey. We're talking about where she started, the challenges that she faced, and finally what changed things for her and what the process really looked like along the way. All right, Dawn, let's kick it off. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I just want you to share your story.
Absolutely.
Yep. So thank you so much for being here today. And let's get started. Before starting peptides, how were you really feeling in your body? What were you struggling with? So Dawn, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Amy. My name, as she said, is Dawn Galagan-Rodriguez. I happen to be a registered nurse too. I am also a health coach. I've had a long history in research, science, bedside nursing, also teaching nursing. I have a master's degree in nursing education. So I have a strong background in all of it, but I do have my own story when it comes to peptides. And I'd love to share how it's really changed my life and even the lives of so many of the people I work with.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited to hear your story. So before starting peptides, what were you struggling with? What were you feeling in your body?
Such a good question because for me, I've always been quite a healthy person, but as I got into my 50s, probably late 40s, you when you go to the doctor, you get your labs back, and I've never had anything majorly wrong with me. I don't have any terrible autoimmune diseases that I know of, but like my blood sugar would be climbing or hovering around 100, and it would bother me so much because as a nurse and as a health coach, I would talk to people about their blood sugars and say, you really need to pay attention to those. You need to get a hold of that. Let's make some changes. And here I was with these levels that, I was almost hiding. And then, I had like normal menopause weight gain that happened quite gradually for me over the years, child rearing, not paying attention to everything I should be doing for myself. I think a lot of women in their 40s can understand that and relate to that. But it was really like last year, my 54th birthday, I posted this picture of myself thinking I looked all that. And since then, I've had a transformation, and I can't believe how I actually looked, when I thought I was doing okay. And that is because I just normalized it. I didn't realize like how puffy, how overweight I had become. I just thought, okay, well, this is me now. So that's where I was. I had these blood sugar issues that weren't like raising red flags with any doctor, but I knew they may have been a problem. Then, it's just some like small little things that were creeping along. And I just had a wake up call one day.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing your story, because I think so many women can relate to that in midlife. And did you feel like at the time you were doing everything right, but still not seeing results?
Well, yeah, definitely. So when I was in my 20s and 30s, and even up to about 40, I've always been really active. I was running half marathons. I was a gymnast when I was younger. I have a really good base for muscle mass that, you keep that memory, that muscle memory with you as long as you're at least somewhat active. And so around, later 40s, when I would decide to, or 50, when I just would want to make a change and let's lose some weight, especially the belly fat, puffiness, I would kind of engage in all the things I would always do. I would lock in my diet, much more healthy, not as many calories, do some exercise, probably cardio. And, you get like a little bit of change. from Monday to Friday and then just do one small thing on the weekend and you're back where you started on Monday. So yeah, the things that I used to do were just not working at all anymore.
Absolutely. And I see that a lot with the women that I talk with. And the same thing was happening to me as well. And we think that we're doing everything right. And that's a sign of poor metabolic flexibility, actually. Like if you are doing everything right and you're seeing results Monday through Friday and you have one, let's say, cheat meal, you go out to dinner, and then all of a sudden, boom, you gain 3 pounds overnight. That's a sign of poor metabolic flexibility right there. Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. How did that impact your confidence?
Well, yeah, I didn't, like I said, it felt like a real gradual change for me. And looking back, I realized like my clothing sizes had slowly climbed. Everything got a little tighter, every 6 months. I'd be like, wow, this is tight again. Then I'd make the college try to, get back down. I would even try things like I did a lot of keto for a period of time,
Me too.
which
How did
could
that
be very
Tell me a little bit more about that. How did that
It
work for
was pretty impactful, at first because I could drop a lot of water weight and inflammation by doing that. And you even feel extremely energetic, I think, when you first start that.
But
You
then is
don't
that
feel
really
hungry.
sustainable long term?
That's what I would get at. I'm going to get at it. I felt energetic. I felt not hungry and I was dropping weight. My clothes were looser, but you do this for a period of months, maybe. A lot of people can't even do it that long. It is so incredibly hard to make that a permanent lifestyle. So the people that I work with, I used to promote that as a way to help people. But through my own experience, I learned over the period of a year or two, going on and off keto, really experiencing what that's like. And, most people I think that have done this before would agree that it is so incredibly hard to make sustainable, so hard to live that way all the time. And that's the
Absolutely.
way it works. So,
Yeah, I think, short term, sure. And for me, see, I had an opposite experience. I did keto. I could not get into ketosis. I think because I had mold toxicity and my adrenals were shot and
oh
some other things going on. And it actually made me extremely lethargic and very sick.
my gosh.
So I think everyone has a different experience with it. But again,
Mhm.
long term, it's not realistic to
Yeah. And there
not have
are,
carbs ever.
right. And there are also a subset, maybe about 15% of people that don't respond, maybe because of genetics.
Mm.
I know somebody personally who actually was doing keto and she would come back in the gym. I'd see her week over week and she was getting bigger. She literally was getting bigger. So, I mean, I don't think she felt like you did, but if it's not working for you,
Right.
obviously leave it behind. But yes, no carbs all the time
It's
is
brutal.
awful.
Yeah, totally. So what was your breaking point? When were you like, okay, something has to change?
Well, to be honest, it was really had more to do with the chatter in the peptide world and in the GLP-1 world that got me listening more because I really wasn't considering peptide therapy for me. But I help a lot of women who struggle with weight loss resistance, energy issues, and quite often, we go down all the roads of, lifestyle modifications, consistency, accountability coaching. And you can get just so far. And especially for women in their 50s, right? Early 50s. And that's most of the people that come to me are in that age group. So when I really started listening, the time I really started listening, when I really started hearing the word microdosing in the industry, because quite frankly, I had been 100% opposed to GLP-1 therapy for just, willy-nilly anybody is what that sounded like to me.
Mhm.
Really thought that this was going to be like the downfall of our civilization. Everybody was going to lose a ton of muscle mass, have to go off the medication, and then gain it all back in fat mass. And then where would we be? I was really afraid of that. In all my years as a nurse, I see all these people with metabolic issues. I could only see that getting worse. I became educated though after I really started digging in, and you helped me with that too. So when I learned more about microdosing and also what a peptide actually is and does in the body, I felt much more comfortable with talking to people about it as an option. And then I really encouraged a couple of my own clients to start. And shortly after that, I decided to start myself, even though never had really had it on my radar for me. But I saw a lot of people like me
Hmm.
having, just like me, having amazing results. So, and the fear had subsided by this time. So that's when I just decided, okay, I have to try this.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm so glad you did.
Yeah.
So I guess you kind of already answered this question, but what were you nervous about? Like, what questions did you need to be answered prior to you starting a GLP-1?
Well, honestly, I didn't know what I didn't know. So all of this, the explanations about what a peptide is, really had to wrap my head around that. And that's really important for me to help even my own clients understand that really the peptides that we inject are super close copies of what we already have in our own body. And then they are such a great match that they attach to our receptors that we already have in our bodies. So this is, to me, when I really understood that, I realized this is more of a holistic measure than a pharmaceutical hack, because I was giving back my body what it needed to really function right. When that peptide attaches to the receptor, it sends the message for your body to do all the things it once knew how to do. So that, for me, when you ask the question, what did I need to know? I mean, when I learned that and I really absorbed that, that's when I felt good about what people were talking about with peptides. And of
Awesome.
course, peptides go so much farther than just GLP-1s, but that was how I just really dove in and got acquainted and used to what peptides are and how they really aren't the scary thing that so many people talk about in social media.
Absolutely. Especially when done correctly, which is what we're doing.
Right.
So tell me, what did you start with peptides?
So, first of all, yeah, I started with Trisapatide, the GLP-1, GIP, dual agonist, at a microdose level. So I thought I was about 10 or 15 pounds overweight. That was an amount I thought I should be able to handle myself. But really, like I said, we already covered it. I wasn't making any progress on that on my own. And I kind of had to just accept that everything I was doing wasn't working. So I get on this, and within a week, I could feel belly bloat relieving. That was really, and kind of everywhere, but the belly was the biggest place. So I know that that's not immediate fat loss. That was bloat, like from the inside out, right? Fluid retention, organs releasing inflammation. And so I was just all the way smaller, all the way around my midsection. And it just felt amazing, especially waking up in the morning with a much flatter belly within a week or two.
Amazing.
And then with, time and with all the other things that I do, I exercise and I really pay attention to my nutrition. The pounds just started falling off. And I actually have lost 20 pounds.
Woo!
Yeah, which, for me, that brought me back down to college, even high school. I was even heavier than that in high school. So, I mean, it's just totally transformational for me.
Amazing. So did that help you with your cravings and appetite too? And energy?
Huge, huge. So one of the first things I noticed, even in that first week or two, it was almost immediate. I no longer felt like I was constantly thinking about food, especially at night, like wanting to get up and snack on something from the pantry. Usually those things for me are carbs, crackers, cookies if I have them in the house, stuff like that. And then, of course, even portion size for meals. I would not want to eat as much as I normally would. That is not to say I was using it as a like a big appetite suppressant. It was just really changing my behavior around food and my thoughts around food. So cravings, I really didn't have any anymore. And the food noise about just thinking about wanting to, if you're working at your computer, sometimes you just get that thought and you just want to go and get something to eat, even if you're not hungry. All of
Hmm.
that went away,
Yeah.
right?
And that just makes it so much easier to stay on track and not eat crap.
All the little bites here and there over the
Yeah.
day, which is what I would try to talk to my clients about, trying to gain awareness about exactly what you're doing from hour to hour is really hard for anybody to be honest with yourself or even to notice what you're doing. And I'm here to say, as soon as I started Trisapatide, it was kind of a non-issue. If I really sat and thought at the end of the day, what did I do with my food? I could easily remember and know that I wasn't snacking all day. And that was huge. That's huge for me because I also talk to clients a lot about the impact of snacking, on our blood sugars. And I said earlier, my blood sugars were hovering around 100. Um, I knew that I was doing something really good for myself.
Awesome. Yeah, I noticed the same thing too. And when you have insulin resistance, that really impacts your hunger and full hormones. And it's like you do the microdose and it's like, oh, I'm full when it should be full and I'm hungry when I should be hungry. Instead of eating something sweet after every single meal or craving that, instead of being hungry an hour and a half after your last meal when really you should be full for at least 3 hours. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you
And
started. Yeah.
I'll add one more thing. 4.5 months after I started, I was in at the doctor for a blood draw. I happened to be fasting. Really didn't plan this blood draw. I was fasting, and they did a comprehensive metabolic panel, and my blood sugar went down from almost 100 to 89. I hadn't been in the 80s since I'd been tracking it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So this stuff works.
I'm
I
really
thought.
looking forward to getting more labs because I don't have an A1C yet. And there's a couple other things that I want to look into as well with regard to thyroid health. I knew that I have some very, very low level of autoantibodies,
Mhm.
like my TPO. I noticed that over the past couple of years on some really in-depth lab work that I had done. And so that was actually another motivator for me to get on Trisapatide because I knew that clinically, there has been some evidence that people are making headway with autoimmunity. I had been trying to kind of tweak things with my thyroid by myself, taking supplements and looking for answers elsewhere. And then when I heard about how, the immune impacts that tirzepatide is also having, I thought, well, maybe this could help me there too. So those are all things that I still need to test. And I'll
Absolutely.
definitely be reporting on that.
I think one of the biggest benefits that I've seen, which I never even thought would be possible, is not having the PMS symptoms anymore. And I know you are postmenopausal, but for someone who's, in their mid 40s, I would have debilitating cramping and pain and moodiness and irritability, and I don't have any of that now. I have nothing. Like, I have completely painless, barely any symptoms whatsoever, and that's how it should be, and a lot of women normalize all the PMS symptoms that happen
Mhm.
menstrual cycle, and that's not normal, and a blood sugar can really be impacting your hormones. So, all right, so you started with the microdose. What other peptides did you add in after that? Because I know you're on multiple peptides.
Yes. So currently, I'm also taking sermorelin. That one is a growth hormone secretagogue or growth hormone releasing hormone to help us retain and build muscle mass easier as long as you are muscle resistance training. And so I've been doing that one. I take it at night, and I can honestly say my sleep is very sound and deep since I've been starting that. I don't generally have too much of a problem sleeping, but I think it's even better since I started that. And, the other thing I should say is I feel like both for me and even the clients that I work with, when we start investing in our health by, investing in these peptides because they're not the cheapest thing that we can buy, like several bottles of supplements, we don't feel the impact financially maybe, but
Right,
making the decision to get on a peptide can be a big decision.
right.
And I think by that making that investment makes you be even more committed to all the other behaviors that we need to be taking, right? Because you
Absolutely.
don't want to be like wasting the effort that you're making financially by not doing all the other things like the weight training and eating properly.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like a jump start.
yes, exactly. And I see it with the clients that I work with. So I see it myself. I make sure that I'm, weight training at least 3 to 4 times a week, if not more.
Great.
Whereas in the past, you know, when I was in La La Land thinking that I looked okay when I was 54, it would come in waves and I would fall off the wagon. And now I just feel so much more committed.
Yeah, it's like, you need to see results in order to keep going. I see so many women in midlife that I talk to, they're like, "I'm doing all the things, I'm putting so much effort in, and I'm not seeing results, and it's frustrating." So then I stop. And it's like, what's the point? Why am I
Yes.
wasting all this time when I'm not seeing any changes? So then it's like when you add the microdosing in, it's like, you start seeing the inflammation go down, you start seeing the results, the cravings subside, the food noise, and it's like this makes it much easier to stay on track. And then it's like you want to do the other things because it's like now I'm seeing results. Now I really want to build muscle.
Yes. That's really well put. It's exactly how it happens, I swear to God. I'm also taking NAD plus.
Okay.
I love that. I take it 3 times a week and I focus it on especially the days that I'm weight training or especially leg days. But, I remember the first day that I took it, I had a full day of work and then we had guests coming the next day, I believe. And I was scrubbing my house from ceiling to floor at 8 p.m. and I was okay with it. I didn't
Right.
even realize it,
You
and
had the energy to do it.
yeah, yeah, and it's a constant energy. It's not like you feel kind of stimulated and then you kind of get a crash. It's just constant energy and mental energy too. Like the ability to kind of be motivated and plan things. I've noticed that. It's helped with clear thinking, decreased brain fog. I think it really is a good one for people who might be doing a lot of multitasking, right? Like a lot of mental work that need to wear a lot of different hats. That's a really good one. So I'm loving that. And I've also taken BPC 157 and TB 500, our Wolverine stack. And that one had helped me with some nagging shoulder injury. I had a rib injury and I was taking it simultaneous with GHKCU, our copper peptide that, together they're very synergistic. I really felt a decrease in inflammation, I think from head to toe.
Hmm.
I looked better. I felt tight. I felt kind of glowing. At this time right now, I'm sort of cycling off of them. I'll be getting back on them. So those are all of the ones that I'm either taking or I've tried.
Awesome. That's amazing. I'm doing all the same ones and I have
Okay.
all the same benefits, which is great. And I was going to say with the NAD plus, I feel like my mood is so much better because when you're fatigued, you're just more irritable, you're more crabby. And when so I work, when I work all day and then I have 3 kids and I
Yeah.
have to take them to all their activities and feed them dinner and do homework and I'm just more patient with them
Yeah.
in the evening because I have more energy and my mood is better. So it's like, it's not just you're having all day energy. It's like, how is this affecting your relationships?
Yes.
And I definitely noticed an increase in libido with Sermorelin.
Okay.
Maybe you'll get that. Maybe you won't.
Yeah, maybe I will.
Do. Some people do. We do have peptides specifically for libido as well. But
Mm.
me personally, it did help with the libido. So what do you pair with your peptides? Meaning, and you talked a little bit about this, but you do strength. So tell me what else you're doing in combination with the peptides. Do you also, so you strength train 3 to 4 times a week? You said?
Yep. I strength train. I either have a gym in my basement or I have a gym in my community, just trying to utilize all the resources that I have and, really just making sure that I don't have any barriers to getting that done. Making it
Non-negotiable.
part of my day, work it in and find a way to get that done. That's a big barrier thing most people have. So I'm definitely doing my very best to get that done.
Awesome.
Because, it's so easy to say, I'll do it tomorrow. And if you do that enough times, you've really just shot yourself in the foot because all the progress you've made. Now you got to kind of start over if you wait a week or two, right? And I know a lot of people that, you get on the bandwagon and you easily fall off just by not making it part of your routine and habits. So I
Right.
really have changed that a lot. Now, walking is always definitely a big one. I making sure that I'm getting at least 8 to 10,000 steps a day. Love to, make sure that I have the tracker on all the
Mhm.
time. That way, at night you can, have a small win when you look there and say, okay, I've got it done. I got it done today. And then of course, nutrition. the protein, we really need to be making sure we're hitting at least 100 grams. I think someone like you probably gets a lot more than that with bodybuilding. But let's face it, if you are on Trisapatide, you might not be hungry enough
Mhm.
to think to eat enough. So it's just really important for me to, whenever I am eating, I'm hitting the protein.
Absolutely.
Otherwise I get too full and I don't want to eat it. So, and that's something I always tell the people I work with, let's double down on that, especially in the first weeks. You've got to make it a priority, make it a habit. And really, even if you don't want to track every nutrient, we've got to be tracking protein.
Please.
Otherwise, we can easily fall short and we can have that muscle loss that we hear a lot about, in the news and in social media. It is a real thing, and you have to take action to prevent that.
Absolutely. A lot of women that I work with, they're not losing weight, and it's not because they're overeating. It's because they're
Mhm.
severely undereating. So it's like when we can fuel our bodies in the right way and get in adequate amounts of protein, our body feels safe and it can let go of the weight easier. And I recommend for midlife women, because we need more protein to do the same job, I recommend 125 grams of protein a day.
Okay.
Most people need that. Most women
Yeah.
need that. And or zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per body weight or
Right.
lean body weight, or goal weight. I usually say goal weight.
Mhm.
So if 150 pounds, you want to weigh 125 pounds, you're eating at least 125 grams of protein a day.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just really important, especially if you're using peptides, you eat if you're hungry or not. You have to train
Mhm.
your body. You have to train your body to eat at certain times. And then eventually it gets adjusted to that. And it's like, oh, it's time to eat. I am hungry. So, but you have to program it in at least
Yes.
first couple weeks, especially on peptides. And then your body kind of gets acclimated to that and it knows when to be hungry. So I guess what were you most surprised about in the whole process?
I guess I was really shocked at the results I got because
In such a small period of time, I feel
yeah,
like
in a small period of time. And again, that first drop and that first feeling of, like, I call it a deflation, really.
totally.
That wasn't like a bunch of weight loss, fat loss. That was inflammation. And so to me, that is like fundamental health aside from losing weight, right? And looking good. When you release that inflammation, it's huge. That means that we're not, spewing out all kinds of inflammatory cytokines through our body. Some of that might be because we're not eating as much, and if we're not eating as much, we're probably not eating as much inflammatory foods. That is one way that's working. But yeah,
The initial
well,
drop in
the
inflammation,
initial drop,
that's what most people say, and then the reduction in food noise, I think is
yeah,
what I hear people say the most, especially in the first couple weeks,
yes.
for something to
And
work.
then after several more weeks, I was just kind of piddling along, a couple pounds here, a couple pounds there. And then it was almost like a transformation in the mirror, like, wow, wow. Like, because I released the weight and the inflammation, the muscles that were still there, already there, were showing, right? You
Exactly.
could see the contour
Yes.
in my arms, in my legs. It wasn't just kind of puffiness anymore. And it was remarkable to see that transformation. So it was kind of like two steps. That first step of decrease inflammation, rapid decrease inflammation, and then several weeks, maybe 2 months down the line when it was really coming together. Um,
And you saw those muscles pop. That's fantastic. That's
yeah,
what we're all looking for, honestly.
yeah,
So what would you say to anyone sitting on the fence right now if they're like, I don't know if I should try peptides or not. They seem, I don't know, they seem cliche. I feel like I'm cheating.
yeah, yeah. It could be like everybody has a different reason they're hesitating. It could be the stigma and the people around them, their family members or their friends might look at them weird. They also might be afraid of the side effects that we hear about in the news and social media, that many are unfounded or they're overblown. They are talked about out of context. And then of course, like you said, like or maybe they feel like they're just cheating and they really just need to try harder.
Exactly.
So, whatever that reason is for that person, what I say to them is, do some research on what is this peptide actually doing in your body, right? It's not just a skinny quick fix
Mhm.
or fad. It is a metabolic support, a true metabolic support. And I consider it like a holistic measure because we're giving our body back that ability to do those things it could always
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
And so to understand the safety, to understand the biochemistry, even at a very basic level, and to think about what they could accomplish in like 3 short months is really powerful. I don't want to ever talk somebody into it because I think they should do it. And look what happened to me. I just want people to understand the opportunity that's there. And this is a tool that everybody has access to now. We don't have to meet some huge BMI. Or, if you are that much overweight, that's probably even a bigger reason to get on something like this. But it is a true gift, I think, that we are living right now. This is probably the most impactful innovation in medicine that
Mhm.
we will see in our lifetime.
Absolutely. And, I see people that have hesitations because family members are
Yes.
on a GLP-1 and they've dropped a significant amount of weight and they're not eating and their hair's falling out. And now they just have all this loose skin. And it's like, that's not what we're trying to do here, especially with a microdose. It's a very, very small amount where you're going to get results, but it's not going to suppress your appetite.
Yes.
But it is going to give you the decrease in inflammation, the decrease in food noise, and it's going to help you lose weight because it's going to help increase insulin sensitivity, which we all need, especially in midlife. Well, Dawn,
Absolutely.
this was great. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today and sharing your story, sharing your vulnerability, your transformation. It's so inspiring. I think you're going to inspire a lot of people. Continue doing the great work that you're doing. Um, any final thoughts from you, Dawn?
No, just thank you so much for having me. I'm constantly wanting to help more people understand what this is really all about. And, we talked a lot about GLP-1, but we mentioned some of the other ones. Really, peptide therapy and peptide innovations are just starting to explode. When done safely, when done, with the right provider and the right source, they're going to be life changing for so many people. So I just encourage everybody to open their mind a little bit around it and do some research and just listen before you just put up a blockade, because you could really have a life change with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And we can't wait to see you on the next one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.